All right. Why did we start this podcast?
You just want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's on you.
People need help.
Because people need help.
I need help.
Not only
I'm
people,
one of
we.
them. Yeah. I think we might have some good insights to share to some young youths out there that, need direction in their lives. And I think we all have unique perspectives, things that we can bring to the table to share with people and go from there.
I think so too.
Absolutely. Different point of views. Like, we all come from different walks of life, like different backgrounds, different upbringings.
Yep.
So, yeah. And then we just bounce off from each other because we don't know. Like, I don't know what you're going through. I don't know how you feel about certain stuff. Like, I can look at something and feel a certain way because of the way I came up. And you can see the exact same thing and think of it differently.
Absolutely.
Same with you.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, and it's pretty funny to see, like, after, conversation after conversation, how so many of us deal with very similar, if not the same things. One of the biggest reasons that I wanted to start this podcast is because I have a lot of problems.
Yep.
And I make it through a lot of those problems, but some I can't really make it through on my own without help of other people.
Yeah.
I remember at one point I was struggling with my mental health so bad. Like, I was just so down bad and I didn't understand why. Like, I didn't understand why I woke up every day feeling miserable. And then one day, it's a pretty funny story, but I went on vacation with my wife. We went to Colorado, and I love Colorado. Like, I love the mountains. It's beautiful out there. There's so much to do. People are really good drivers out there. But
Wow. Okay.
they really are. They really
Random.
are. Like, if you're carving it up on 70 through the mountains, man, you'll notice that, like, everybody knows how to properly use the lanes, the left lanes, the
Are you
fast lane.
serious?
Somebody comes up. If you're coming up behind somebody that's going slow, they get away
They
right.
actually get
They
over
do it right, man. And we don't see that out here in St. Louis.
at all.
We simply do not.
I was in Colorado one time, and like, I just noticed how everyone like passed me. Like, they're used to driving like in the snow and everything, and I'm like, all right, you got it. But it was like now that you mention it, it's crazy that
They know what they're doing.
They
they
do
have
it.
to, because you're driving, up and down these massive slopes and whatnot. But my point is, at the end of the vacation to Colorado, on the last day, I was really, really sad about going back, because being in Colorado was the first time that I felt happy in a very long time. I have been miserable every single day, and vacation was just kind of like a break for me. So I was really upset that we were going back. But we were sitting at this diner, and it's called the Blackbird Cafe. It's just this little diner in the middle of the mountains, and it's not a super popular place. It is now. But we were eating breakfast, and after we had left, I felt different, and I can't really explain it. I don't know what happened. I started to think about how much value I put on possessions and how much value I put on trying to portray an image of myself that I'm not, as something successful by wearing these clothes with these name brands and all that. And I just started to think differently, and I can't explain why. And it was like a release, and I don't really know what happened. I know that it was a full moon and it was a super moon that day, and I think that may have played a part into it, just myself.
Yeah.
But I don't know what happened. And after that, I thought that I beat depression. I thought that I had beat feeling useless and miserable, and I thought that I had found my purpose in life. I thought that I had found my passion, and I thought I figured it out. I've moved past that stage, and I'm no longer struggling with my mental health. Well, after that wore off, after about 4 or 5 months, it started to come back. And that's when I kind of realized that it never goes away. But what it's really all about is gathering up enough tools and knowledge and self-awareness so that you can know how to handle it next time that it comes up. But here's the thing, it's easy to forget that. And it's really easy to forget that you are not a victim of your brain when your brain has just totally warped your thinking and you're trapped inside your mind. Like that Kevin Gates song, like Prisoner in Your Own Mind, you know what I mean? I feel like that. I feel like I'm a prisoner in my own mind sometimes because I'm so trapped in my way of thinking. So recently, you guys know that I left the car industry for a little while to kind of figure out, do I want to stay in the car industry? I definitely wanted to start this podcast, which we did. But I wanted to find a new opportunity, and I didn't find anything that really clicked with me, and I decided to go back into the car business, which I was really excited about, really happy about. But as soon as I started back, that's kind of when reality hit me. That's when I realized like I'm back to sitting in an office all day, you know, and waiting for customers. Obviously, I can do what I can, and I know it's going to work out. But it has really taken a big toll on my mental health, and I've been so trapped inside of my mind of, you know, worrying about what the outcome is going to be here at Volkswagen, and worrying if I made a mistake by going back, if I made a mistake by leaving the car business in the first place. That's just kept me locked in. And there's certain small little events that happen in our lives, I think, that can take us out of our own brains, that can give us a little bit of release when we don't expect it, like a good conversation with somebody or just a positive emotional interaction with somebody else. It kind of pulls you out of your own mind for just a second, just so you can see yourself from a different view and maybe have a different perspective on your mindset. So, when we're so trapped in our own minds that it doesn't seem like there's a way out, what do you think we can do?
Well,
I know it's a loaded question.
no, man, you had so many little things in there that I wanted to touch on. You spoke on a lot of things that me and Jimmy, we read this book called The Power of Now, which I'm going to give to you next.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Eckhart Tolle, I think that's how you say his name, or Tolle or something like that.
Tolle or something like that.
Yeah.
But great book.
Great book. And one of the main things that he talks about in the book is being present in the moment, and how your mind and your thoughts oftentimes can mislead you, and oftentimes do mislead you. Identifying with your thoughts and how problematic that can be is where a lot of the things that he talked about.
Identifying with your thoughts.
And we talk about this too. You know what I mean? When you you start to worry about, did I make this decision right, or did I make this decision wrong, as far as coming back into the car business, leaving the car business, all that kind of stuff. You also mentioned before that, prior to coming back to the car business, that it's going to be right. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
You know, everything kind of happens for a reason, not to be too cliche about it. Everything does happen for a reason. Like, you're going to find your way no matter what. But identifying with the thoughts of worry and, you know, anxiety and all that kind of stuff just really can dwindle you down and really put you in a negative space. And then once you're in that negative space, it's really tough to get out.
Like accepting those thoughts as reality, basically.
What do you mean?
Like, you know, if your brain is telling you that you're in a terrible situation, there's no way out, and yada, 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 the trouble comes when you accept that as your reality, rather than realizing that that is it's a temporary mindset.
It's a thought. It's a temporary mindset. It's an idea that somebody else from a different perspective could look at that same thing and have a completely different perspective on.
Exactly.
So nothing's true about it.
Glass half empty, glass half full.
Exactly.
Like, this is all it is.
Nothing's true about those thoughts, other than, or to the level that you make them true. You know what I mean? Like, how deeply do you identify with those thoughts? So that's a lot of what the gentleman who wrote the book, The Power of Now, talks about. And so the question was, what can we do in those times where, you know, you feel trapped in your thoughts, or you feel trapped in your mind? Is that the question?
When you just feel miserable, you know, and sometimes I feel like, and it's kind of a difficult question to answer, because sometimes I feel like when you are trapped inside your own mind, you don't realize that you're trapped inside your own mind.
Nope.
Because it is reality to you right now. You know, what it's like, it is your brain. So it's almost default for you to trust your brain and to trust your thoughts. And that's why the brain, I mean, it really is a trap. It really is. If you can't tell the difference between what your brain is telling you, what the actual reality is right now, I feel like that's where so many people get stuck and just become miserable. And then they're not even aware that there is another perspective to hop on and see your life a little bit differently.
What I try to do, like now, and I don't know if it's because I'm older or like I've been through whatever I've been through, I just try to think about like past, like, bad things. It's like, okay, I was in that situation before and I made it out. So like right now, like I'm to the point where nothing can slow me down, nothing can stop me. Like it can be like the worst thing in the world. Like if I'm still breathing, I can still make it through. Like that's how I think of it now. So like that's how I put a lot of stuff is like, okay. And honestly, I just try not to focus or care about stuff that I can't control.
Yeah.
So some stuff you can control, but a lot of it you can't. And it is what it is. Like, that's my mentality. It is what it is. What's meant to be is meant to be. It's going to happen. Like, no matter what.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think everything that you said is true. I think it's difficult for people to do that, though, and to practice it. And then what you mentioned, Robbie, you can practice that for a little while, and then you get into this great space, and then you forget.
Yeah.
And then you get depressed again, and you're like, dang, how did I get out of this the last time?
And it's kind of hard to even tell people, like, how you deal with stuff, because, like, I don't want to, if I say, okay, I can sit back and meditate, which I don't do often. I feel like I should do it way more. But, like, I would just focus on my breathing in order to fall asleep. Like, I can tell you that, and it can go out the window over the, like, it won't work how it worked for me. So I can't judge you and say, like, all you got to do is meditate. Like, I think a lot of people put that pressure on other people. It's like, why are you worrying about, like, well, people who have anxiety, like, oh, you worried about this. And it's like, maybe I don't care, but, like, I have to, like, put myself in your shoes, basically, to understand, like, okay, it might not be as easy for you. So it's basically just finding your own way. Like, if you can find your own way to cope with it.
Absolutely.
And more people need to be, like, accepting of, okay, that's your way of working, but that's not my way of working. So, and I'm trying to, like, work on that too. Like, I don't judge people a lot, because, and I have in the past, like, and it's just people, like, really it's around money, because I'm saying, okay, you making this amount of money, but you don't have money, and I find myself judging people sometimes, but I'm trying to get away from that. Like, not necessarily judging them. It's like, what are you doing with your money? Like, why are you in this situation? Like, you're making bad decisions, but you never know. Like, sometimes people need to do something else with their money, like, where they have to avoid like getting to the next level. But I don't know, it's just a lot.
No, you're exactly right. And what you said about, if you were to talk to somebody and say, you just need to meditate, that's all you need to do. And how different people require different methods of getting better. Sometimes it's hard to realize that ourselves. Sometimes it's hard to realize that you were on a completely different path than other people. So what worked for somebody else is not going to work for you. Like, I remember, I would see people that were in positions that I thought I wanted to be in, people who own Lamborghinis or people who started businesses and this, that, and the other. And I didn't have enough self-awareness to realize that I can't just do exactly what they did. We're in two so totally different sets of circumstances. But I would still try and follow their move for move to try and get what they have. And that's just not the case. I mean, what's going to heal you, what's going to help you become successful is completely unique to you as an individual. And I also remember just desperately hoping that I found the right thing to learn. I found the right thing for me to learn to get to the next level. So, like, if I was listening to an audiobook, I would have all this pressure on me of, like, there's so many other audiobooks out there, though. How am I sure that I'm listening to the right one? Well, I feel like that material and opportunities and people come into your life when they're meant to. You know what I mean? So, like, for people listening to this podcast, I think that you stumbled across this for a reason, and I think you're here for a reason. So while you're tuned into this podcast, try not to think about all the other sources of information and books and the other things that you should be learning. Just try and be here right now, because if you learn one thing from this, then I think you've made progress.
I agree. Jimmy, I wanted to talk to you about something.
Let's go.
It's going to get hot.
Oh, I'm already hot, man.
So, I went through a little dark episode in my life, I would say maybe about 6 or 7 months ago. It lasted a good 4 or 5 months. And I was going through something. And Jimmy, you were there for me every day at work. I would come to you. I would be telling you, man, I'm sad, bro. I'm depressed. And, like, we'd smile and we'd laugh about it. But, like, I was really, like, hurting inside. And one thing I did not appreciate is I felt like you made fun of me for it. And maybe that was just you, like, making a joke about it or something like that. Just trying to lighten it up or something.
That's a great point.
But I was like, dang. I don't know. Like, it didn't sit right with me.
So that's a great point. So the way I was raised, we make jokes out of every situation. It's kind of like lighten the mood. Just say like you arguing with somebody. I don't know if you know me. Like we've never got into like a heated debate or argument or nothing like that. But as I'm arguing, I smile. Like it's crazy because, and it's just like me being not comfortable, but it's uncomfortable. Like it's an uncomfortable smile. So like I was raised like just let's get a laugh out of it, like whatever it may be. But that is deep. Like I never forget. Like my best friend called me one time, and I knew he was going through something because he was giving away all this stuff, all this stuff. Like he was giving away everything. Like, and I'm like, dude, like why are you giving away? You love this, like. And I knew he was going through something. We went to Colorado. So everybody was leaving. We was on our way back to St. Louis. We had to drive to Denver, which was like an hour and a half away. So we driving to Denver, and he's like, I'm going the other way. Like I drove up here, I'm going the other way. He called me maybe 3 days after we got back. He was sending me pictures like, oh, I'm in the mountains. Like we didn't go here, we didn't visit this, or Grand Canyon. He was at the Grand Canyon. So he called me and was saying like late at night, like 11, and I'm usually asleep by then. So like I answered the phone, and he was like, I'm doing 120. I'm trying to like flip my car. He was like, I'm trying to crash into the next thing I see. And I'm like devastated. Like I've never been in that dark of a place to like feel that. So it's like to understand that. But
so what joke did you make?
I didn't make a joke then because it was like I don't know what to do. But like that's just my way out. Like I feel like if I can make you smile or like something like that, it can bring a light around it. And it's kind of like lighten the load. Like you might be going through something hard, and it's just like me making a joke can kind of like soften it up a little bit or like break it up a little bit. Like I didn't mean like it was no like bad or ill intentions like that. But I understand that you didn't grow up a this certain way. And now I'm trying to be more like respectful or sensitive to the situation. Like with you telling me that, like it means a lot.
So this is why it bothered me. So after I came out of the episode or the depressive episode or whatever it was, that's when you said something like, yeah, I don't know what you was all like. You said something about like how I was then instead of telling me then how I was then. Like it was afterwards when I was like feeling better about myself. You was like, yeah, you was da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh, well, that's how you felt that whole time.
No. I was trying to lighten the load because, I mean, we were still getting to know each other. Like, it's only been a year. I know we kicked it, like, so with the people that I've been around my whole life, that would have been cool for them. And, like, I'm trying to be more sensitive, like I said, like, towards people that I don't know. Like, so we grew up, like, making fun of, like, bad stuff. And I tell you all the time, like, one of my friends was like, we make fun of the dumbest, can I say shit? You said it wasn't. Well, we make fun of the dumbest shit ever. Like, one time, it's like you talk about something that you don't have. Like, you make something that you don't have seem like the worst stuff ever. And that's just how, like, we were raised because it's like, okay, the have-nots, the only way we can feel better is to talk about it. So one time, the guy was like, it looked like you got good credit. And that was the funniest joke ever. It was like, man, that shit was hilarious. But it's like, wait, that's a good thing to have good credit. So, but no, I was just trying to like lighten it up for you, just to.
But I was already light.
You what? Were you?
When you said it, yeah.
So was it? Can you tell me exactly what it was that hurt your feelings that he said? It was after you
I
had
don't
come.
have feelings.
Okay, you
What
don't
hurt
have
your
feelings.
feelings?
Okay, we're gonna get into that
Let
in
me
another
get a shot
episode
of
because it's
crown.
gonna
What
be a
hurt
real
your
long
feelings,
episode.
I don't remember what you said, bro. But okay, I thought I explained it pretty well. But okay, I was going through this little episode, this depressive episode or whatever. I was talking to you about it every day. You know what I'm saying? And it was all good. And then when I came out of it, you said something along the lines of, "Yeah, I'm sick of you being sad every day," or something like that, or something like that.
Because you fun, like it, and that's the thing. That's what I was trying to get to you. Like, I like the fun, Karan. Like, maybe I don't know you how I think I know you, but it's like, all right, man. Like, all right, you were sad. You didn't want to kick it. Like, that make me feel some kind of way. Like,
what were you looking for?
Yeah, what
for
were you
him
looking
to
for?
say? What would you have preferred for him to say rather than
Or nothing.
Yeah, you were pretty down bad back there. Like you were sad. Like, what would you have preferred for him to say?
Well, I can't say I would have preferred for him to say anything. I didn't like what he said, but for me, it was like you just said, like you made light of it, and it was not a light thing.
Was it a joke? So this is what I look.
If I could remember what you said exactly,
I wish
that would
you
make
would,
this conversation a lot better.
Let me say, it can be something terrible. Just say like a car accident. Like, okay, I will make a joke out of a car accident after I know you're okay. Like, if you died, I wouldn't make a car accident joke. Not you, but I'm just saying you in general. But if somebody died after the car accident, that'll be a bad joke. But if you made it out of the car accident, it's kind of like bringing like that's like a comedian, like how they say like the world is sensitive right now, like. But people make jokes. What is it? Kevin Hart? Like he say, laugh at my pain.
Right.
Like he went through all that pain and trauma like his whole life, but now he can tell a joke about it. Like just being comforting. Like, and that's him talking about himself.
His life.
And how his life exactly. And that's what I was just talking about. Like how the meditating, like it works for me, but it might not work for you. So what I could have done, like.
So you sorry?
I'm sorry, bro.
So
no, because I don't know. That's what I said. Like we didn't grow up together. Like how like my friends grow up. Like how we grew up. It's like, okay, we gonna make a joke out of it no matter what. And people say all the time, like, can you be serious? And I'll be like, yeah, and yeah, no, like never.
So it almost seemed like to me, and of course nothing wrong for this. You were looking for recognition through Jimmy about how serious your struggle was. You were looking for him to appreciate how terribly you were struggling, and when he made light of it in your eyes, that offended you in some way. Am I correct in making that assumption?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because I wasn't looking for any response or any. I didn't ask him a question or make a statement that garnered the response that he gave me when I was in that light space. So I wasn't looking for anything. I was already good. I was already like
you weren't looking
space.
for it, but what I gave wasn't the. It was.
I ain't like what you offered. I ain't like what you handed me. Like
so you were at 0 and I made it a negative.
Facts.
Okay.
Or I was at 100 now, like out of this negative.
So you say
space.
out of it.
I was at 100. I was feeling great about myself. He probably put me at like 98. Like, man, bro.
All right, 2 points. That's cool. You still got an A+.
That's funny though. But yeah.
But no, like if I made you feel that way, like I apologize. It wasn't nothing malicious. That's just how
I know it wasn't.
Like I'm gonna make a joke no matter what.
For sure.
So, but now that I know that you don't.
Well, don't change, bro. Like
I didn't plan on it. I'm still gonna make a joke.
I think it's
but no,
important to
I
know
got
each
you
other.
exactly. Like, but yeah, I will be more like I would think about it more now.
And then
like
now,
it'll be in the back of my head,
knowing you,
saying like
next time something like happens like that, I also know I can take account of who you are and expect you from you, and not take it as personally as I did.
But honestly, like I don't know if it like. In my mind, like laughter makes people feel better. Just like if you going to,
it wasn't funny.
It was hella funny. Like no matter what it was, I know it was funny. I don't remember what I said, but I know it was funny. But no, I get you though. Like
I think it's good that we can talk about it. You know, like,
and it's
have
always
respect
like
for
I
it
tell
about
people all the time, like we are men. Not saying like not being sexist or anything, but like men, women, anything like. Whatever, like you can always come to me like if you're uncomfortable or something, like address it right then and there, so I can be like, and me, like I always been like debate, like I'll always debate, and then like sometimes it'll take me a day to like sit on it and be like shit, I can't sleep. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, all right, like I was wrong, and then we could talk about it again. So like, and it's a pride thing I'm trying to get away from, but it's like if you just be like, man, that wasn't cool. Like, it can be that simple. Like, express it right then and there so we can address it right then and there. And then we go wash our hands, bro. Like, we gonna be cool at the end of the day. Like, it ain't no hard feelings, no whatsoever. Like, you can talk to me about anything. Like, man, that wasn't cool. Like, no matter what it is, like, that go for everybody. Like. And I wish more people were like that. Like, because you always expect people to know how you feel. Like, I had no idea. I honestly still don't remember what you're talking about. Because, like, I joke all the time.
Yeah, right.
But... like, if we would have addressed it right there, you'd be like, man, that wasn't cool. And I was like, I would have asked you to explain.
You know what's so interesting about that? And, Robbie, I know we got a lot to talk about.
No, you guys are good, yeah.
I don't want to get us too completely off.
Keep going.
But in that moment, when you said it, I felt a negative feeling. But like you kind of just said, I wasn't sure what I was feeling, my emotions that I was going through. So I couldn't have accurately addressed it in the moment. Wait.
Oh, my bad.
So I had to go home and think about it and kind of sit with those emotions and really parse through them to understand what it was that kind of made me upset, and I'm still struggling to kind of explain it today. So I think that it's tough to, when you say when something go wrong, you address it right then and there. I understand that perspective, but it's tough to do.
It is, because you got to dissect it sometimes. So I'm going back on what I just said. But I mean, even if it was the next day, if you'd have been like, yo, because you might be like, all right, I felt this way now, and then you think about it, and then
You don't feel that way.
you don't feel it exactly. But if it's still lingering, like always come to me, like always, like let me know.
Well, I just did.
I know, but it's 6 months later, and I don't even remember what we're talking
Well,
about.
that's a lesson. I mean, when things like that happen, you know, if somebody you're close to hurts you, even if it takes a couple days, confronting them about it and talking about it and helping them understand the way it made you feel instead of being angry that they should have understood the way that it made you feel. That's so important to do, because otherwise you're going to carry that resentment with you for so long. You know, and the more that you build on that resentment, it's the more toxic it's going to make your thoughts and your mindset. Because if you're building up resentment from that particular situation, odds are you're building it up from other situations as well. And you're just filling your body with resentment and anger.
So that's very easy to do, building up that resentment once you feel a certain way towards someone for something that they did. I do want to make it clear that for whatever reason, I did not build up any resentment towards you.
You hate me, bro.
In the period between now and between then and now, I did not build up any resentment towards you.
And
I
I
always
appreciate
knew
that.
it was something that I would address at some point, and I put that in the back of my mind. I'm like, I'm gonna bring that up to him one
That's
day.
cool.
I'm gonna talk about
and,
it.
And it's good that we in a good space that we talking about it. Some people, and it's crazy because everybody is different. So like it's good that we're in a good space that we're talking about it now. That you didn't wait till you get pissed off at me again,
And then
like,
throw it in
remember
your
that
face.
time,
Right.
and then it'll be like way bigger than.
And
and it's
a lot
like,
of people do that,
all right,
especially in
cool.
relationships. I feel like
Relationships.
100%.
Yeah.
Because like you can hold it in, and then you be like, you just blow up. Remember that time you left your socks on the step? It's like, be the dumbest shit ever. You be like, yeah, but what they got to do with this
Or
argument?
no, not at all. Like,
Right, exactly.
It's almost like you're building up an inventory just to throw at them when you get angry at them, and you're
Yeah.
waiting for that breaking point where it's very clear that they did something wrong to make you angry, and that's when you let it all unload.
That's almost like toxic and manipulative.
It's
It
very-
feels like 'cause
absolutely.
You just building all this stuff up, and then that person might make a case against you for whatever reason, and then you bring up all this old stuff that don't have nothing to do with what they just brought up.
I think 100%. I think it is very toxic, but I think it would be wrong to fault the person that does that, because the
Ooh.
person that does that probably doesn't have the confidence or simply wants to avoid a conflict by bringing those things up in the moment, so they don't say anything about
That's
it.
a great
good.
point,
Yeah.
because I was like that for a long time. It's like I would hold it in, like hold everything in, and then we have that one argument, and it's like, all right, we already heard, so I might as well let it all hang out. And it's making me think about, like, you ever been to a water park where they got that big, like, whatever bucket, and they filling up,
yeah.
filling up, filling up, filling up, filling up, and then
Yes.
it was like dump over. Like, everybody loved that part, but like in an argument, it's not as cool. But I used to do that all the time. It's like, all right, we here now, like, we're already mad at each other. I'm getting everything off my chest. But it's like, I'll hold it in. It's like, all right, we're in a good space, so this little thing don't bother me. It's bothering me, but
It's
I'm
still
not gonna talk
bothering
about
you,
that.
though.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's bothering me, but I'm not gonna talk about it. All right, there's another thing. It's bothering me. I'm not gonna talk about this. It bothers me. I'm not talking about it. But as soon as that bucket's full, all right, you remember this time? You remember that time? Like,
Yeah.
we going at it.
Man, that's so. And people say this all the time about how communication is so important to relationships, and it is
100%.
But everybody says that, and I don't think that as many people who say it actually practice it.
They won't.
You know
Because
what I
that's
mean?
why, like, I feel like that's why the divorce rate is so high. Like, and that's crazy to me. But like communication, and I'm not
Perfect. None of us are
at
yeah.
all. Like, I don't communicate as much as I should.
Yeah.
But I find like the times that when me and my wife, like when we communicate, it's crazy. It's like an understanding. Like it's and it can be the simplest thing. Like, maybe I won't tell her this because it'll spark this. But then when I do tell her, it's like, oh damn, it was that easy? Like that's all I have to do?
So
Yeah.
to me, it's about a combination of two things. One, picking your battles, and that requires discernment. So you have to know like what's worth bringing up when, and then also not holding on to stuff and talking about the small annoyances or the small little things that bother you in a constructive way.
Mm-hmm.
So you can bring up something that's bothering you instead of holding it back and waiting to unleash it. You can bring it up then in the moment, and you and that person can have a very constructive conversation about whatever it is that was bothering you. And you can have that back and forth and really, really, really reach a place of understanding of one another's perspectives and how you all think and feel. And me and my girlfriend, I guess.
Ooh, it's official.
Okay.
What's up, babe? Me and my girlfriend, we do this all the time. Like, and I always think about like, okay, is this weird? How deep we're diving into this interaction? Is
I
it
think
weird?
that's actually dope.
I think it's
like,
just
and
good conversation.
It's,
or like
it's good
communication,
conversation.
I mean,
Good, well, yeah, good communication. But you got to understand, like, she don't have to agree with everything you say. Like, you always want somebody that's gonna challenge you. Like, and me and my wife, we go through this all the time. Like, she challenged me so much, but I hate it. Like, I hate that she can ask me a question and just make me feel stupid as hell. It's like, it'd be like, damn, I didn't think about that. But I'll go back and forth with her. Like, it's a prideful thing. So I need to stop. Like, I need to stop thinking that she's attacking me or attacking my character or whatever it may be. Like, I need to stop doing that. But it's like, man, I know what I'm talking about. Like,
clip it, send it to Tiffany.
don't send it to her.
What's up, Robbie? We just got way off track there.
No, you guys are totally fine. I think that everything about communication is so important with other people in relationships, you know, about being open and talking about the things that hurt you and not letting resentment build up. And it's also just in your relationships with everybody around you, not just in your close, intimate relationships, but also people at the workplace. You know, if you hold resentment towards your boss for something they said or for just in your position, let's say you're working in a position that you don't really like, you know that it can be changed, but you're afraid to say anything to your boss. It's really important to be open about those things because otherwise you're just going to stay in a miserable state and nothing is going to change. And it can be very intimidating to talk to people in different, you know, in different places in your life based on who they are, whether they're your manager, your coworker that you're not really close with. But I feel like when you come to somebody and you're open with them about something you're struggling with, you really open the door for a much closer relationship in the future.
Facts.
Like when I feel like everybody knows this. And if you think really hard, if you don't know it right now, you'll probably realize this. But in every relationship with somebody, whether it be your partner, a coworker, a friend, or even just a stranger that you struck up a conversation with, there's a moment something changes and you start to become genuine rather than just superficial, you know, yada, 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 talk about the weather, whatever. There's something that happens typically or something that you talk about that opens you up. And you suddenly show up authentically and genuine, and you could have much better conversations. So what does that look like? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, because, I mean, what it sounds like is something that, and I'm thinking about me in the workspace right now. What it sounds like is something that I, like, that's something to my core. That's something that I, like, try to do with people in general. Remember where I was walking around the dealership asking people whether or not they think marriage is about love or duty?
Yeah, I do. 100%.
Whether or not marriage is about love or duty.
We gonna get there.
We will.
Next episode.
Yeah.
But I'm always like walking into situations or walking into conversations trying to be somebody that other people can empathize with and understand. That's why I try to be like very true with my emotions and how I'm feeling. And sometimes it's to my detriment as far as like selling cars and stuff like that. But like, let's just say I have some type of situation that's bothering me and another salesperson. I'm going to go to them and completely explain my perspective on the situation. And hopefully they can understand that. And then we can come together to come to some type of solution. Because my core philosophy is that most people want to be good people. Most people want to.
No, I'm good. I want to pin that.
Okay.
I'm pinning it.
My core philosophy is most people want to be good people. Most people have good intentions towards other people. They don't necessarily want to be bad. So if you can come to a person and fully explain your perspective and how you're feeling thoroughly and make them really understand what it's like to be in your shoes, that opens the door for so much empathy and understanding, and then that brings you closer. And that's what I took from what you were saying. Was I on the right page there?
You absolutely were, and it totally relates. It's funny that this happens, but it totally relates back to what I've been experiencing for this past about week and a half ever since going back to work. So I was in my previous position working with you two at the Honda dealership. I was a manager, right?
Yeah.
And I don't really attach, or at least I didn't think I did. I don't really attach a whole lot of pride or ego to the manager role. I didn't think I did, of course. But when I went over to Volkswagen and I started this new position as a internet manager, where essentially, you know, I'm a salesperson. I get the internet leads. I call them. I really don't take much ups because I'm more so handling internet. So I took this position, and suddenly I'm the new guy again, right? I go from being respected and valued and just looked up to at Honda for leading people and for kind of being the bridge between difficult personalities, to suddenly being this new guy that nobody knows and starting over in a non-authoritative position. And it's really, really tested me quite a bit.
How so?
I'm gonna tell you.
My bad.
I thought I had this stuff figured out, man. I thought I beat my demons and this, that, and the other, but they all came back. They all came back. But that's okay because they're here to teach me something. But here's how I felt. I felt this big. I felt so small sitting in that office. I just feel tiny. I feel so self-conscious. I feel so, that's really the best way I can explain it, is just small and like the little guy, you know, because I'm new. Nobody knows me. Everybody's been here for so long. I don't know anything about the product. So if I get a customer, it's very difficult to be confident in my presentation because I don't know a whole lot about the cars. Whereas with Hondas, I knew everything. I knew how to open up the trunk on an Accord if the battery was dead and you didn't have the key fob. I knew how to do that. I knew where the secret little keyhole was. I could teach you. It's pretty cool. But I don't know anything. So I'm like starting over, and nobody there has an opinion of me yet. Nobody knows how respected and valued I was at Honda. Nobody knows how much I accomplished at Honda. So here I am, the little guy again. And it really showed in my communications with the manager, my new manager over there at the store. I just feel like this small little guy. I feel like it's my first day, so I'm very timid. I'm very shy. I'm struggling a lot on the inside, but I'm trying my best to seem like I'm ready to go. I'm happy. I'm confident. I'm the guy that you heard about. So I'm trying my best to embody that. So I'm faking it. That's what I'm doing. I'm faking it because I'm feeling small in that moment.
So the same thing happened to me. Like, I went from being at a job for 12 years to starting something new. Like 12 years, you know, everything, the ins, the outs, the ups and downs, like, you know, like the back way, you know, like at the back of your hand. So what I did to, like, when I first started at Honda, I haven't been a new guy in forever. Like, I was a kid when I was a new guy last. But I always put in the back of my head, like, okay, how I was the man at my last spot, just wait, I'm gonna be the man here. Like, you gonna know what I do eventually. Like, and that's what you gotta live on. You gotta live from, and it's crazy because they say the ego is from like what you did in the past. But in your situation, I feel like you got to remember what you wasn't at Honda. How long were you at Honda?
About 2 years.
2 years. And what did you do? Like, in that 2 years, you went from 2 years. And when I came in, I was new. Like, that's all I heard. Robbie this, Robbie that, Robbie this. And I'm like, man, Robbie the man. I'm trying to listen. So I looked up to you because I was the new guy. But eventually they knew what you do. Like me, like now, like you don't have to ask like who is this guy? Like, they're gonna tell you, all right, we're looking for Jimmy. Here you go, right? Like, this Jimmy right here.
Yep.
Like, so you gotta understand where you came from in the past situations.
You do.
And where you can get there. You learned everything about Honda. It's just a repeating cycle. And I tell you, you're gonna be successful no matter where you go. Like, you can go to Subaru. Like, you can go to Subaru tomorrow and you will know Subaru is like the back, like how you knew Honda, you know that. Like, you gotta keep that in the back of your mind. All right, I'm the new guy now, but you go work hard to figure out everything about Volkswagen.
Robbie, you were going to do everything that's required of you to reach the same status that you had at Honda, if not higher. So what it is, so you put into this new situation, right? And you're feeling small, you're feeling like the new guy and all this kind of stuff. But there's not there's a reason. There is a reason why the Robbie from Honda became who he was. And that's because who Robbie was. And it didn't have anything to do with Honda or the people around him. So Robbie is still that same Robbie, just in a new situation. So just in a matter of time, you'll be exactly where you were at the Honda store.
So you can forget about all that stuff. You talking about like you feel this big.
No, you Robbie, bro.
That's it. Like they knew Robbie when they like everybody at Volkswagen know Robbie. And I'm sure everybody at the Chevy dealership you probably never been to know Robbie. Like everybody, like the people who need to know you, and that's all that matter. Like what's his name? Emil told me that the other day. He said, "Man, we might not talk to you all the time, but we know who you are."
So I'm gonna fight you. I'm gonna fight back on that a little bit.
Come on.
So it doesn't matter what they think about you.
Not at all.
What you think about you is what matters.
You're spot on.
Because you already know.
You know who you are. You know what I mean? So you good, bro. But that's the so interesting thing, and it goes back to what we were already talking about: perspectives and your mind being in different positions at different times and forgetting the things that you taught yourself.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
You already taught yourself who you are as an individual, who you actually are at your core. But then you get into this new situation, and it's easy to forget.
It is. It's so easy to forget, and it's shocking because like. Number one, I appreciate both of you guys. Like you guys hype me up so much. Like
you're the man.
It's awesome.
The GOAT.
But number two, it's like in this new position, there's so much insecurity involved. Sometimes I'm in moments of power where I lean into that. Like I know who I am. I know where I came from. I know I'm going to crush it. Then I lean back into like, oh God, like what did I do? Yeah. Like I left. Why did I leave my position at Honda? Like everybody knows I was treated unfairly, but at the same time, I could have stuck it out. Like. And now I'm here. Like, why did I make this decision? Now look where I put myself. Like, I'm small, yada, yada, yada. And then I lean back, and it's just back and forth. And what I said earlier about those little moments that can kind of grab you out of your mindset, it's a moment when I saw somebody on the lot, and inside, I was like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. No, you're terrified. You're small right now. You don't know about the cars. You don't know what to do. And the other side of me was just like, just go do it. Yep. So I ran out and I grabbed the up, and I didn't sell him a car, but I had a really good interaction with them. Yeah. And that leaned me back over here, pushing past what my brain is telling me. My brain's telling me I'm scared. My brain's telling me you don't know the product. You're going to mess it up. You just should let these other guys take it. But my heart's telling me go out there and take it and have a good conversation with them. It doesn't matter if you sell them a car. It's going to open you up. It's going to warm you up. Most importantly, it's going to pull you out of this office where you're sitting here inside your head. Yeah. So I did that, and it pulled me back over here.
That's perfect.
And it's kind of like a teeter-totter. You know what I mean? So like the more experience with overcoming your struggles you have, the easier it is to lean this way and to feel confident and remember who you are. Yeah. But the less experience you have and the less understanding you have of yourself, the easier it is to lean this way.
Just got to get up and do it.
To be small and ashamed. Exactly.
That's part of that's another one of my like life philosophies. Oftentimes I just tell myself, jump out there.
Jump out there.
Just jump out there. Like that phrase, and I guess when you just hear the words jump out there, it might not speak to exactly what I mean, but for the listener, jumping out there is just when you have those moments of fear or like hesitation for something that you think that you should do or want to do. A lot of y'all young men might be able to relate to this. Talking to a woman, in public that you see and you think she's pretty and you want to go up to her and get her number, jump out there.
It's either yes or no.
Well, some of these women be real disrespectful with they know. So.
That's cool.
It can be very hurtful no.
What you want you either want the yes or no, or you go think about it for the rest of your life. Man, if I would have did that, like, I should have did that. Like, find out. Like, all right, cool. Tell me no, and I'm on to the next.
And then you get better from that.
More
you get
confidence,
better, more confidence. You get smoother. You get better, and that's with everything. So, Robbie, I mean, it's funny how life speaks on levels. So I just brought the analogy over to talking to women, but it speaks perfectly when you bring it back to the business that we're in. You jumped out there with that customer. You know what I mean? You had a positive interaction with them, which is going to help you moving forward, and it's only going to cultivate more growth and confidence in you. Yeah. So you jumped out there and you won. And the interesting thing is, had you had a negative experience with those customers, depending on your mindset, that could have teetered you the other way, which is kind of like a scary thought about it. Yeah. What do you think about that?
It's all about your perception. You know what I mean? Like if I had a negative experience with those customers, well, actually I did. I did have a negative experience with this guy. So the That's funny. So that's funny that you said that. So the guy came in and he had this big lifted up Ram truck, right? And he pulled in, and I went out to his truck and I greeted him because I saw him out there after pushing past my brain telling me not to. So I get out there and I talk to the guy, and he looks at an Atlas. He doesn't want to drive it. He just wants to know what we can do on his truck, like one of those types of customers, you know? And he just wants to focus on his trade value. So I show him around the Atlas at least. I let him see it, let him sit in it. He still refuses to drive it. So I bring him back inside and I have his truck appraised. And as soon as I sit down there and present the pencil, I'm like, all right, sir, so here's the price of our new Atlas. Your trade appraised right here. It looks like there's a couple dings in the tailgate. $38,000 for my truck.
Instantly.
For my truck, $38,000 for my. Where are my keys? Where are my keys? Give me my keys. Stands up, and the whole time I'm smiling. I'm like, man, I missed this. I'll get you your keys, sir, but can we just relish in the moment for a second? I really don't. You don't want to talk about it?
Back, baby.
Maybe he missed something. You don't want to talk about it at all? Okay, let me get your keys. So I go in the sales office and I get his keys. I'm like, boss, this guy's about to leave. He wants his keys. He said we missed his truck by 20 grand because apparently he had been offered 58 by a dealership earlier that morning. So I'm explaining all this to my boss, and the guy walks in. Right. Well, nobody else has anything going on at the dealerships. Now all eyes are on this situation. All eyes are on me. And he's standing in the sales office talking to the boss. Boss is like asking him about his trade and whatnot. He's like, just give me my keys. And I'm just smiling. I'm just like, man, I'm so happy to be here right now. Like, I feel so much better because, like, before I took this customer, I was scared to walk out of my office. And after taking him, I realized how much just a simple human interaction and knowing that you pushed past your fears and you didn't listen to your brain for a second, and you took action anyways. I was just so happy to see how much that small little moment could clear the clouds in the sky of my mind.
That's powerful, man. Because it was something that could have been really taken like somebody else in that same situation could have dived so much deeper into their head, into their thoughts easily. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm having hesitant thoughts about going out here and talking to this customer. You go out there, talk to that customer. You have a negative experience with them. Some people would take that and be like, okay, well, I was right in my hesitation. But like you said, it's all about perspective. But for you to take that and spin it in a positive way that's incredible.
What I always look at is baseball batting average. So, like, if you hit 30%, like, that's 3 out of 10. That means you missed 7 times. You only hit 3 times.
But that's great.
You are phenomenal.
You're a Hall of Famer.
Oh, my God.
100%.
Like, if you're 30%, like, a batting average at, like, oh, man.
Dang.
So, I always look at stuff like a batting average.
That's pretty good.
But what they do, they get out there and swing. Like, they swing. Like, you going up to the plate.
Yeah.
You gotta swing. Like that's how I look at it all the time.
So
like,
it's interesting. So Jimmy, you sell a lot of cars, but I don't know if you know this, but I think the turn rate in car sales, Robbie, you know it for sure, is like what 1 out of 10 or something like that, or 1 out of 8, or
it's about 25 to 30%, depending on kind of what you look at. So like total like internet leads to sales is like 17%, but you know, all in all, it's about 20% or so.
So 1 out of 5 is what you're supposed to turn in car sales. So it's interesting that you make the baseball analogy when you sell cars.
It's crazy because, I mean, I was so close. I don't want to say I hate baseball, but I've never been into baseball. Like me working downtown, you gotta start like getting into baseball. I'm like, man, these people 30%? They terrible. Like
I can swing better than that.
Like right, and you think you can get up and do it, but it's just like you have to swing. Like you got to swing the bat to hit the ball.
That's a good perspective.
And I don't care. Like it's been times, and sales helped me out a lot, man. Like I always thought about, like when I first started, like this is my first sales job. So when I got, it's like, and I had a great trainer. But he was like, I call him, I email him, I text him. Like he hit 3 times. I'm like, man, I don't really want to bother people. But it's like, that's because I was like always afraid of rejection. Like I've never been rejected because it's like, I'm going to pick the right person, like the right path or whatever it's going to be. Like I know they're going to say yeah. So it's like, my success rate has always been like 100. Like I'm always like 10 for 10. So, like with sales, it's a little different. It's like, all right, man, you be rejected, but I can't let that like deter me. I can't let that like let me down. And that's with life. Like
that's with life.
You get a no, all right, cool. I'm gonna go to the next. Yep. It's kind of like the quantity based. Like the more people you reach out to or the more stuff you do, like whatever it is, like the more you do, all right, like maybe I get 1 out of 100, but that one could change my life. That one person or one thing or one whatever can change my life. But like it took me 100 tries, but it only took one. That's all it is. It only take one.
So there's two things. Number one, I think we answered the question that I had earlier. How do you get out of your mind when you're absolutely trapped in it? And it's by taking action.
Ooh.
It's by doing something despite what your brain is telling you. If your brain's
Jumping out there, if you will.
jumping out there,
Jump.
it's take action, jump out there, read something, learn something, do some kind of form of exercise.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that is tying you up, take action on it in any way. And it's funny because while you're thinking about this, while you're thinking about what kind of action you're going to take, your brain is going to tell you it's not going to help. While I'm sitting there looking out the window at this customer, I'm debating on whether or not to take him and thinking about the possibility that it might make me feel a little bit better to get out there and take some action. My brain's telling me it's not going to help. It's insignificant because your problems are much bigger. Your problems are so big and you don't understand them. So helping out this customer is not going to help you. You have a terminal problem. This is a huge, massive problem. You are depressed.
That's what your brain is telling you.
That's exactly what my brain is telling me. You're in such a bad spot right now. You're starting over. Like nothing is going to help you. That's what my brain's telling me. But when I pushed out and I went ahead and I took action and I took that customer, everything felt better for just a second. And it took me out of my state of mind. It cleared up the clouds so much that I can see now that I was trapped in my mind. Because before, sometimes when you're trapped in your mind, you don't know you are.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works. But by removing myself from that situation, by not listening to my brain, by shutting it off and then running out there, I was able to see now from a clear perspective where my mindset was.
Yeah.
And I think that answers the question.
Taking action.
Taking action. And then the other part of what Jimmy said is when you want to achieve something, when you want to sell a bunch of cars, focus on the action you can take. Don't focus on the result. Don't focus on the end game. If you're really depressed, don't focus on what it's going to be like when you feel better. Or don't focus on the past, how you felt so much better back then. Focus on the actions that you can take right now that might help you get a little bit better one step at a time.
That is golden. Because, and I kind of want to just take it a little bit further. I'm kind of like an extremist in this way. But when you're depressed, and it's going to sound crazy, maybe. When you're depressed, don't focus on being happy. Because it's impossible almost to just have it in a moment. So you're depressed and you're in this sad place and it's dark. To focus on being happy isn't going to bring you out of that depression. What is small incremental steps that'll eventually bring you to that happiness. And that's that taking action, that jumping out there, that getting up and doing something, making a decision right then to change your circumstance, even in the smallest way. Is going to bring you closer to that happiness.
100%.
Because when you're depressed, everybody who's depressed wants to be happy. I just want to be happy. I just want to be happy. And they think, well, I don't know if they think that just thinking about being happy will bring them happiness, but that's not how it works.
It's not.
You know, it takes work. It takes dedication. It takes time. But you can get there, you know?
And it's so hard to take this step. So as we close out here, I want to make this final point. It's so hard to take that step towards getting better because the entire time your brain is going to tell you that it's not going to make you feel better. It's not going to do anything because your problems are too big. Like I've almost come to the conclusion that if my brain is telling me not to do it because it's not going to make me feel better, that's exactly what's going to make me feel better. Just like if I'm struggling with my self-image and I haven't exercised in a little while, you guys know that I'm a big fan of yoga. I'll think like a 30-minute session isn't going to do anything for me, but then I'll do it and it helped so much. But my brain was telling me that it was not going to.
You just got to get to that point where it's the order to start. Like 100%. That's all it is. Like once you get there, it's like, yeah.
The Art of the
That's
Start.
actually a book.
I'm about to say, hold on.
That's a book. No, that ain't me. I don't remember the guy's name, but it's a book that I read. It's basically saying like, you want to look like The Rock. Let's say you want to look like The Rock, but The Rock didn't look like The Rock from yesterday to today. Like it took him the time to do it.
Yeah.
Like, but he started.
He started.
And procrastination is like the downfall for so many people, man. Like it's the art of the start. Like once you do it, all right, I'll run. And people think you got to do like, and I'm a victim of this. Like I hate running.
We all victims of everything we saying. I feel like.
Yeah. So like, okay, run a mile. All right, I got to run a mile. No, run a quarter mile first. All right, you get through that. Like, oh, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
All right, run a quarter mile for a week, and then bump it up to a half mile.
Yep.
And then bump it up to 3/4 of a mile, and then boom,
Baby
a mile.
steps.
Yep.
Like that's all it is. Like people, it's crazy. Try to build Rome in a day. You can't. Like you can't do none of that. Like it's a process.
Dude,
But
so
once you get started, it's a wrap. Like you get mad at yourself for not doing like what you set yourself out to do. Like not making progress. If you want to go to the gym, all right, I need to do an hour a day. No, you don't. You don't have to do an hour a day. You can do 10 minutes.
Yep.
Like you can do 20 push-ups. That's better than what you did the day before.
Take a small step.
All right, that's all it is. Like taking small steps, and that's like leaning towards what you say. Like you don't go from being depressed to happy.
Not like that.
You go from being depressed to depressed, and then like,
And then debt, and then debt,
exactly. And then you go from being depressed to happy, and eventually you get to happy. Like, like that's how it is though. Like eventually, like that's all it is. Like once you get started, man. Like a lot of people try to get to the end goal before they start. Like
or they get
that's
frustrated.
what you do. You will get frustrated quick because you want to be here when you haven't started.
Exactly.
Like all right, work your way up. Work your way up. It might take somebody else 30 days to lose 10 pounds. It might take you 60 days to lose 10 pounds.
How many
But
times?
at the end of the day, like quit comparing yourself to other people. Like you start where you go at your own pace. Like, and it's crazy because like when I first started working out, I've been working out for years. Like, and I'm just now starting to see results. Why? Because when I get to the gym, I'll see somebody lifting 315. And I'm in there trying to lift 315. My form is terrible, but I can throw it up, but I'm not doing it like the
You're not
proper
doing
way.
it any good.
All right. And then now I get in there, I'm focused. I put my headphones on. It's me versus me. So I'm going in there competing against myself. Like you've been doing this your way, but I'm going there against myself. My form is cool. Like I can, man, look, 135. It's 245 plates on there. I'm doing it correctly.
Right.
And then I'm going to bump myself up. 155.
Yeah.
225. 315, I might not make it there. Even if I make it there, it's cool. If not, like I'm doing it at my own pace.
Yeah.
So like I feel like a lot of people always go to try to compete with each other, but it's a race against yourself, man.
Stop
like,
comparing yourself to other people. How many times do we give up on something because we're not great at it right off the bat?
Exactly.
How many times do we get frustrated at that and then give up?
Yep.
How many times do we set
the
goals?
time.
And you don't realize like so many people like they practices they started somewhere. Like they didn't go straight to the top.
The person that you're looking at and trying to like compare
Started
yourself
somewhere,
to,
yeah.
they started somewhere
Like I
too.
tell people all the time, like people say like I don't want to go to the gym because I'm only putting 10 pounds on each side. It's cool because what's gonna happen? And then people gonna see you putting that 10 pounds on each time. They gonna respect you more than you respect them. Because they see you worked your way up to that. Like they see you from the start. They see you from start to finish, and you only seen them at finish. Like the people that you're looking at, that's all it is, man. It's crazy. It's the smallest thing, man.
Just release judgment from yourself.
That's
Like,
it.
don't judge yourself for the amount of weight you put up. Don't judge yourself for how long your runs are. Stop judging yourself and just focus on the little bits of progress that you can make in the baby steps.
People say that about like all the time. Like even if like you take a picture, like the first thing, if you take a group picture, who are you looking at? You're looking at yourself. Like you don't look and see if somebody, oh man, he had his eyes closed. You don't care about none of that. You're looking at yourself.
Yeah.
And that's all it is, man. Like when you realize that, like it's me. Like it's me is who I'm judging, who I'm comparing myself to. You can't compare yourself to nobody else, man. Just understand who you are and then just work on that. Just build from that.
Yep.
That's all there is to it. And another thing that we touched on here so far in this podcast is how we get better and then we fall off and we forget what we knew.
A lot to say about that one.
But there's a lot of growth in that. So there's a lot of growth in me landing this position at a totally different dealership, feeling like the small guy again. There's a lot of mental growth that is happening right now because I was very comfortable at Honda. I was comfortable in my mindset. I was happy. I feel like I had it all figured out. Now I'm being tested, but with every test comes growth. And it reminds me of my favorite poem. So my favorite poem is actually written by Matthew McConaughey in his book, Green Lights. It's his memoir. It's really, really good. You guys should check it out. But essentially it goes, times of prosperity make us forget adversity. Good times seem out of reach during bad ones. Both can seem like final destinations, the summation of our days. But then the cosmic joker plays with our ways. Yesterday's condition no longer remains. All commas, no periods, just stops, no stays. The pleasure's for rent, and so is the pain.
The pleasure's for rent, and so is the pain.
How often do we try and hang on to the good times? And then when we're experiencing bad times, reminisce on those good times and just wish it were the same. Nothing is going to stay.
Nope.
The pain doesn't stay.
Nope.
The great times when you're on top of a mountain, it doesn't stay. But when it doesn't stay, when you start to go back down, there's growth that happens as you begin to climb back up again. And when you climb back up again, you hit a higher peak and then a higher one the next time and a higher one the next time because you have this inventory of lessons you've learned and the strength that comes from it.
So
Go ahead. I'm gonna remember mine.
So is it kind of like so you're living your life and then you get a high and then you go through maybe a little bit of a dip and then the next high is higher than the previous high because you've learned some things in that time and then it just continues to go like
But
that.
then the next dip could be even lower. The next dip could be even lower because not only do you feel, let's just say you feel depressed again, but you feel depressed again and you feel ashamed because you thought you had fixed it the first time. So you go even lower.
You go even lower.
So you got to go lower to go higher.
And then
Woo! Stop.
that's fire.
I don't know who said that, but it wasn't me.
That's good because I've lived that.
Yeah.
So my bad. Go ahead, Jim.
No, same. Like I've lived that throughout, like jobs, friendships, school, like all of that. But I always think to myself, it's like, man, this is my favorite job, and I was thinking like, can I do this now at like 30 plus? Like no, like I had fun. That was good for that time. And then this job right here was good for that time. And then as I get older, this job was good for that time. Like, so it's no way I can do all of the things that I've done, like working, friendships, because it's been friends that I had to let go. It's like you reminisce, like, man, even in like elementary school, like, man, I had so much fun when I was doing this, but it's like, do I really want to do that as a high schooler? Like, do I want to go back? And it's been times where I went back and it's like, man, this just ain't the same. But it's thinking like, no, like, it's not the same. You kind of elevate it. Like, you might have pulled back at the beginning, but you elevated. Like, and that's
100%.
exactly what it is. Like, everything happens for like that time period. It's cool then, but like I can't go back like too far.
You can't live your life when you live your life by looking at the past and basically just reminiscing on those good times and thinking that that was the good time in your life and nothing is going to get better than that. You're trying to drive a car while you're looking in the rearview mirror and you can't do that because you're looking backwards. So all you can do is look forward and charge forward, and you could take those lessons from the past and those good memories with you. But the last thing that you want to do is wish it was the same as it was back then, because the way it is right now is making you grow.
Yeah, it's a good story, but that's about it. Like, you can't live off that forever. Like, I talk to like one of my good friends. He always talk like we'll call each other or, talk about the good old days. But it's like, what about the good new days? Like, that's what I'm looking forward to. Like, I don't want to, like, yeah, we had fun then, but we were kids. Like, how do we have fun now? Like, let's make the best of what's happening now and forward instead of talking about, like, reminiscing. Like, I can reminisce forever. Yeah. Like, everything is good because you only talk about the good stuff that you want to remember, but you don't want to talk about the good stuff that's coming sooner.
And I don't think there's any particular problem with reminiscing in general. I think the problem happens when you're struggling in the present and you're reminiscing to wish it were the same as it once was. You know what I mean? And that's where a lot of depression can come from, So like when you're struggling, as you go through this self-development journey and as you begin to get better, you almost begin to appreciate the struggle. It becomes a little bit easier to appreciate the struggle because you know that you're growing into the next phase of your life, that good things are going to come. And once you're through this struggle, you're going to be stronger than you were before you entered it.
Are you going to remember these perspectives when you walk into Volkswagen tomorrow?
100%. But sometimes I might forget if I sit there for 4 or 5 hours without talking to a customer and I get so deep into my mind that I let my brain do the thinking for me, then I'll probably forget. But it's a matter of how quick can I remember again, and how quick can I realize that what my brain is telling me is not the truth. You know, when I go home that night after having a rough day, am I going to say today was exhausting, I just need to go to sleep and go to bed super early and not do anything productive? Or am I going to say, you know what, working out at the end of the day always makes me feel a little bit better, and so does journaling. So I'm going to go ahead and do those two things, even though I don't really want to right now. And that's the difference. Sometimes we can't control the way we feel until we really analyze it and take those steps that we know are going to help us get better. And then you can start to see the brighter side and enter tomorrow with a brand new mindset.
That's been a lot. Like, that's what I've been dealing with for, like, since I started. Because I'm always used to, like, you saw how it was a few minutes ago, like, fast paced, on the go, on the go, on the go. Like, just sitting at a desk is, like, boring.
It's
like
difficult.
And then you always in your head, it's like, man, I could be doing so much more. I could be doing so much more. But at the end of the month, like, if you sell 12 cars, if you sell 15 cars, it made your month. So you can look at, like, the great end result, I guess, if that's what you want to say. Like, the end result, all right, I sold 15 cars in 30 days, basically. Like, it took me every other day I didn't sold a car. Or maybe I sold 3 cars in one day. But that's all it is. Like, you still look at the end result. Like, and we talk about this all the time, like, how you accomplish something one month. Like, you can have the best month you ever had. Like, you had a phenomenal month last month. But then on the first, it started all over again. So it's like, all right. Well, I got hurt before, I can get hurt again. That's how I always look at it. And I don't know, you can take that a long way. Like, I just always think about the end result, or like, it don't, like, maybe I don't do anything today, but tomorrow can be a great day.
100%.
Like, you just can't let it, like, tear you down, just one thing, like one day or whatever it may be.
That's real.
Don't take yesterday with you.
Exactly.
You know? So, like, when you're in a
great.
bad, don't take anything from yesterday
Sure.
except lessons.
Original?
Right off the dome, baby. Come on.
Don't take yesterday with you.
Don't take yesterday with you.
I love
Don't
that.
take it with you. Just take the lessons that come from it. Because when you're really struggling, like I've been, man, like really, really down bad, when you wake up, your brain is like, you're worried about this. This sucks. Work is gonna suck. You're gonna sit there all day. Your brain's just like,
Instantly.
like I can feel it.
Yeah.
You know, so I either let that river carry me with it into a day of dread and depression and feeling like you know what all day, or I could say, shut up, calm down, and just clear my head. Because sometimes when things are bad, when you're feeling bad, you think that you have to think your way out of it. You have to think of a solution. I have to think about how to get busier at work. I have to think about what I'm going to do after this position here. Where am I going to go after this? Where are they going to put me? You don't have to think about it. Stop thinking and just start feeling and start going with the flow. Create stillness right off the bat, because that's where your wisdom can shine through.
Thanks.
Sometimes I talk to the moon a lot, and when it's a full moon, I go out there and I just stare at the moon and I just vent to the moon sometimes. And recently, every night when the moon comes out around 7 or so, when the sun's still up, but you can still see the moon in the sky, I'm like, why aren't you talking to me anymore? Like, I don't get any wisdom from you, right? I don't feel anything from you right now. But what I felt the answer was that I received was that your brain is talking so much that it's talking over me. And my wisdom, your internal wisdom, can't shine through with your brain controlling everything. So you got to calm your brain down. You got to stop trying to think your way out of this so much and just feel through it. Just feel into every day. Feel the energy of the day and just see what happens, because every day is a clean blank slate. But when you carry yesterday with you, today is going to be just like yesterday, because you're making that happen.
It's so interesting when you said you talk to the moon. So I don't know. People might hear that and think it's weird or whatever.
They might.
whatever. The thing is, there are so many different ways you can cultivate stillness within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're staring up at the moon, talking to the moon, that's what you're doing. It's the same as praying. It's the same as meditating. It's the same as sitting in the sun. It's the same as sitting there focusing on your breath. Because all of those things are the exact same as not thinking.
Yeah.
And when you're thinking, you get to you dive too deep into your thoughts, and then you end up in a bad place most of the time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, sometimes you can think yourself into positive things, but most of us especially in this age, our minds don't necessarily work that way. When we start to think too much, it often leads to negative places. So when you say you talk to the moon, I get up every morning and I'll raise my window all the way up and I just sit in the sun for like 2 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's every single morning I get up and do that. I drink some water and I just sit in the sun. I just bask in it. And it brings me so much calmness and so much peace.
I love
and
that.
I try not to think about it. I try not to think too much. And when I start to think, I always try to bring myself back to thinking of now and being in the moment and being present and not worrying about yesterday or the future. Because worrying about yesterday is sadness and grief and there's an R word I'm trying to think of, regret in the past. And then worrying about the future, that's how you bring about anxiety.
Exactly.
And worry and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But when you're here, you're in this moment and you're looking at the moon, you're basking in the sun.
What else can you be?
You're good.
Man, that's so dope, like, that you do that. And I wish I had something like a ritual, like that both of y'all do it. You say you talk to the sun, like you talk to the moon, or you open the door, the window and see the, like, I wish I had, and I'm gonna try to focus on something like that, but like just something that's just like, that's yours. Like, that's yours. Like, that's what you do. Like, and how you said it might be weird to some people.
Yeah.
So what?
So what?
So what?
Yeah.
Like, I wish I could have like a tradition or something like that, like a routine. That's what I'm looking for, the word I was looking for. Like a routine that I did every day to just make me feel like me. Like, I just want to feel like me. And I don't care if you think it's weird, like,
why
you wouldn't do it. I got to figure out something to do, man. What I'm going to do? Like,
and you don't even have to do it every day. You just have to do it when you feel like you
but
need
you
to
know
do
it's yours. Like, it's something that you do. Like, I've never heard anybody, like, it's weird. But, no, I've never heard anybody, like, get up and, like, open the window and just feel the sun. Like, I've never heard that. But when I think about that now, that's you. Or when I think about talking to the moon, that's you. Like, if everybody can have something like that, like, and I'm like, damn, like now I'm thinking like, damn, what can I do every day? Like,
you probably already have it and don't even know it.
Exactly.
Maybe that might be
That's
true.
what it is.
And that might open up a space for me to just be like, oh, I do this every day. Like, this mine. Like,
yeah, or maybe there's something that you already know that you enjoy, but you think it's weird inside your head, so you don't do it. So you got to dig deep and you got to find that thing, because
It's probably already there, yo.
It's probably there.
The answers to everything regarding yourself are already within you. But sometimes it takes reading a book or talking to somebody to pull that out. But that's all it's doing. And of course it's putting new information in you, but that new information that's coming in is making you think differently. And when you think differently, you start to discover different things about yourself. And that's it. And that all plays into your mentality every single day. It's so important to have a calm, even, positive mentality so that you can create and start your day with just this presence, you know, this presence to let things happen to you. Because if you run around, you're trying to control things and avoid things all day, it's not going to work. You're going to be stressed up. Your body's going to start carrying tension. My body carries a lot of tension in my shoulders when I'm stressed. But it's just not going to serve you very well. So just start feeling more than you think. Try to create those rituals. Try to seek the answers within yourself rather than externally. What works for somebody else is not always going to work for you. And keep that in mind, because everybody is very unique. There's nobody else like you on the planet.
Right.
Even biological twins, by the time they're like 12 years old, their DNA is so different because everybody goes through different experiences. Everybody's born in different circumstances. So never compare yourself to anybody else. Find what works for you and stick with it. And then when you're in a bad place, make sure that you know that number one, that's only temporary. Number 2, there's nothing to be ashamed of for being in a place like that. And number 3, there's a brighter side.
Yep.
You just have to keep going. You have to keep pushing, and you have to stay aware enough to find it.
Couldn't agree more.
That's all I have. You guys ready to roll?
Mentality Lab.
Mentality Lab.
Let's get it.
All right. Let's roll.